Grief, tragedy, and loss have always been one of the hardest emotions to overcome in the human cycle. Personally, grief, pain, loss, and all the similar synonyms you could use to describe the process of experiencing death and experiencing fate have always been an interesting topic to me and one I think about often, not only relating to my personal life and the lives of others, but the overbearing complexity of the entire cycle. In Manchester by the Sea, the character of Lee, played by Casey Affleck, goes through one of the most devastating experiences that you could possibly face, and one that unfortunately some people may have had to deal with, or could potentially be dealing with today. The raw emotional vulnerability in human form that Casey manages to portray is one that is utterly believable to the point where it almost feels like somebody you know or may have seen. We are taken through Lee's daily life after going through some very traumatic events that the story later reveals to us at what I would describe as one of the pinnacle or climaxes of the entire movie. Lee lives out his grief-stricken days as a maintenance worker and repairs leaks and problems found in tenant buildings. A lot of life at this point in time for Lee feels bleak and cold, almost empty. The story doesn't fully explain why the character is this way, but what we can take away is that this character has definitely gone through a lot, and Casey's portrayal allows us a glimpse into the aftermath of such events. Very early on in the film, Lee goes through another loss, losing his brother who passes away, and that reactivates the same pain that the character has been trying to leave behind. These events lead him to go back to Manchester, his hometown, where all the tragedies that the story reveals to us took place. This stress that Lee has to go through in this moment is not easy, and serves as a reminder that life can be a miasma of difficulty and suffering very early on in the film. Lee has to return to his brother's child, who he has to look after, and the difficulty in the situation is that Lee has to be an elder and protector to his brother's kid, named Patrick, while still processing the traumas of losing basically almost everything in his life up until this point. Manchester by the Sea is by no means an easy story. In fact, it serves as one of the rawest portrayal of emotional loss and the very real human emotions experienced as a result of that loss. Lee's sentence serves as one of the most brutal and unforgiving errors ever made. It really puts his situation into perspective. I am not really sure what I would do if I was in the same exact situation, and how I would try to process one of the most psychological torturous mistakes ever. The story does not hold back in resolving these traumatic events. In fact, at the end, the protagonist is still encumbered by the tragedy. In fact, it leaves us with that pit and reminds us that life goes on, although bitter and brutal as it may be. Personally, for me, one of the biggest takeaways for this film is the relentless unfairness of life, as it is really hard to see it through another perspective. But I do think the film is also subtle and serves as a gentle reminder to pay attention to the people in our lives and the moments that we have with them. A lot can change within a split second, and when you come to, it's a little bit too late to realize just how much everything has and will change. How people and situations can and have changed. How grief changes you and can sometimes be so overbearing that, similar to Lee, we may choose isolation, thinking we deserve it, or using it as a punishment. At the end of the story, Lee struggles to reconnect with other people, but he does form a sort of bond with Patrick. But even at the end, he chooses to still isolate himself, as that he believes is his only path forward, as facing everything and everyone could be way too much. As a 20-something-year-old, this film is still one of the hardest watches that I've ever had to do, as the story is such a door into a reality that could be seen as utterly cruel, but still so very relatable. The story and characters feel so familiar that you can't help but feel for everyone in the story. I truly believe every human being could have or will have to go through some sort of loss that is tied to death. And I think the film reminds us just how human we can be and how much humanity is truly needed in these times of sadness and passing. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Bye for now.